you today?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Okay. Yes, the weather yesterday was so bad.
So bad?
That's why the connection
Oh,
was not
yesterday.
good yesterday.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yes,
it's
we're
okay.
having a storm.
Oh, it didn't storm.
Yes, a typhoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the connection was so bad yesterday. I'm very sorry about that.
It's okay.
But for your lesson today, would you like to discuss today's article?
No. This Saturday, I will do a
Ah, ah,
presentation. So, and I like to practice this
mm,
presentation. The topic is the the relationship between uh, Taiwan and Japan, and
okay.
the modern Japan and the Taiwan's relationship. And
Oh,
I like to begin from the uh, 18 from 1828 from 1828. During the Edo Bakufu, I mean from the Bakufu, the sir from the sir general, maybe called the shogun, and the sir shogun who make a policy called close the country policy. We sometimes say national isolation. I mean the Japan not to close the country, not to touch open to other country. Even the Japanese who cannot go out of the country, and even the Japanese already stay in the out in the other country cannot come home to Japan, and that is called the national isolation. That's maybe from the 18th century. So in the 19th century, especially in the 1828, declare a decree or called Japanese called the Ikokusen Uji Haraire. That mean to Ikokusen mean the Juan ship. Juan ship expelling decrease.
mm,
I mean the Juan ship when they come close to Japan, the Japan will expel them out. They don't like they don't like the ship to close to their country or enter their country. And in the 1828, but later they changed the pa- policy. Uh, so in the 1842 in 42 they changed the policy. The policy is called the 新水教育令。given the fuel 那个的fossil fuel and the water to the final ship, and why they changing this policy? Because in the 1840 there is a British and China's war called the Opium War. The Opium War, and China was defeated by the England. So during that time, China is thinking they are the powerful country in the world, and so they, they, they even thinking the whole world is not as good as mainland China, as powerful as mainland China, and so after mainland China was defeated by the England, the the Opium War, the Japanese government that time is in the Edo Bakufu, and they thinking even the power country in Asia, maybe in the war, still defeated by the European country, maybe not as strong as China. The Japanese may easily be defeated by the foreign country too. So they change their policy. They don't like to offend the other country. Yes, and when the other countries, foreign countries, foreigners ship close to Japan, we are over the water and the hill, and say, please come home. Yeah, they change their policy. And Chinese fight between China and England. They had the opium war.
Mhm.
Uh, because after the European, especially England, they had the industrial revolution. After industrial revolution, they producing many industry product, and they like to sell their product to the world market, and especially the Asia country. They had very big population, so they aim to sell their product to the Asian country. And the best way is to occupy the Asian country as their colony, and they sell to their colony, and even get the natural resources or the raw material around the colony, uh, something like that. Like in India, India was occupied by the England and become the England's colony, and
Mhm.
they even allow authorized in private enterprise to build a big industry, enter, enterprise in India. They call the East Indian Company, and even Dutch, the Holland. They also seized the Indonesia as their colony, and they also built the same company. They called also called the Dutch is the India company, and so they usually sell product to the India. And in that time, European countries, especially the England, the noble, the upper class people, the normal people, they like to drinking tea, and that tea is come from mainland China, and some are come from Taiwan, although not directly from Taiwan to European. They usually through the Macau or uh, uh, the Amoy, called Chinese called Xiamen, and they during the trading of the tea, and they are not only buy the tea, and they buy the China oil too, and they in that time they trading with the gold. So Japan English using the gold to buy the tea, and not many Chinese buying product from England. So they lose many gold. So England must find some way to get the gold back. So he said England to ask the East Indian Company to grow that poppy flower to make it into the opium and sell to China and in the beginning the rich people to take the opium, and later even the low class people also take the opium, and so they lose that money. They also use the gold to buy the buy the opium. So the gold go back to England. And not for China, not only the financial losses. I think many people taking the opium, they get addicted and lose lots of money, and so and hurt their health. So one of the officer, high-ranking officer, maybe his position is equal to now is the prime minister, and she must stop the opium so import. So they confiscate lots of the opium and ban it, and that make the England government angry. So they launching a war against China, and that's called European War. Yeah, and that is in the 1840, and China was defeated by England, and signed a country called the Nanking Agreement, and that is the country in which the China give the give the Hong Kong to England. So from that time, England Hong Kong was ruled by the England until recently they back to mainland China. And so that is the why the Japanese changing their policy. Yeah, and not only the opium or even another incident that they call Morning Song incident. That's American merchant ship who save a few Japanese fishermen. The fishermen had a shipwreck, and so the merchant ship of America save the Japanese and send them back to to Japan. But the Japan in that time they had the Ikoku Uchi Harai Re, so they tried them out and even hurt the damage the ship. So that was criticized by their Japanese citizen. Yeah, so
Mm.
later the government of the Bakufu they changed their law, and and up and after 9 years, they had a black ship incident in the 1853. The America's one of the captain lead, leading a fleet of the warship with whole ship, whole the warship and sail to the Tokyo Bay, especially the Uraga harbor. And they ask the Japanese government to open the country for doing business. And because the ship is very big, and they painting with the black color, and they had the chimney, and they had the smoker, a black smoker. So Japanese get astonished because they had no never see such a big ship, and they had the smoker. Maybe in that time Japanese had no steam ship, yeah. And so they are at the flag, and the captain called Perry, who had the document issued by the president, and to try to give to the government of Japan, and to ask the government to open the country or doing business. And the high-ranking officer asked Perry to give them time. They need to discuss. And Perry answered, okay, and I will come back, and so I will come back to Japan again. So after deliver the document, he sailed the ship to back to America, and 1 year later they come again in the 1854, and they after Perry come home, they discuss the Hanins discuss should they open the country or still keep
Mm.
closing, and so they divide into two groups. Some are agree to open the country. They are afraid if they don't open the country, they must have a fighting with America. Maybe they will
Mhm.
be defeated by America. And others, another group they disagree. They thinking the the Edo Bakufu government is not it had not ability. It was not able to protect the country, so they decide to build a new government. They must overthrow this old government, and that group they had an idea like that idea come from mainland China, that called 尊王攘夷, that mean to respect the emperor and to try out of the whiner, and that group decide to overthrow the Tobago government. So this group mainly come from Sri, they call in that time they call Sri Huan, and that Sri Huan in this day they are the Kagoshima, Prefecture, and the Kochi Prefecture, and the Yamaguchi Prefecture. Normally, this three one, and until this three one later they join together and overthrow the Meiji, through the Edo Bakufu. So they build a new government, and they suppose the emperor for 600 years without the power. The power was in the hand of the Bakufu. During these 600 years, they had three Bakufu. The first one is Kamakura Bakufu, that is built in the 1192, and here the Bakufu, that's Edo Bakufu, that was overthrown in the 1868. So almost for 600 years, they are ruled by the samurai, and
Mm.
the emperor had no power. But this three prefectures, low-ranking samurai, they suppose the tenno, the emperor, and to overthrow the government. And so after the Edo Baku built the capital in the Tokyo. In that time they call Edo. So Edo is Tokyo now. And so Tokyo mean mean east, Kyo mean capital. So they mean the east capital. Where the Kyoto, the old capital in Tokyo, and Kyoto, and the Kyoto is the east part in the Kansai area, where the Tokyo is on Canton area, and so so they call the Tokyo from that time, from the Meiji government, Meiji emperor, and so they overthrown, and before they overthrown, they signed two contracts. The next year,
Mhm.
the next Perry come again, and they sign a contract. They call Nijibe Washin-Joyaku. That means Japanese and America friendly treatment. And whole years later, they sign whole years later in 1858, they sign another treatment. They call the Nijibe Hyuko Zusho Joyaku. That means America and Japan's friendly and trading agreement. But these two agree country treaty or are unequal. Especially Japanese had no had no right to decide the custom rate. They must through the negotiation. And another is the council. The council had the right to judge the criminal. And where they are American citizen commit the crime in the Japan, Japanese government had no right to judge them, to punish them, to give them sentence. They must judge by the America. So that is called unequal treaty. And and uh, in the 1867, and they had an incident called the lawful incident. That is between Taiwan and America, but later they had something to do with Japan. So the lawful incident is the America ship, maybe merchant ship, also meet the Taiwan, and was floating to south of Taiwan, and they are when they landing on the Taiwan's south part, they was killed by the Aboriginal. Taiwan had the Aboriginal originally, and later we had people like Taiwanese. We are coming from mainland China, and originally they live, the host people live in Taiwan is the Aboriginal. There are 10 tribes. In the south, they are called the Paiwan tribe. The Paiwan tribe Aboriginal killed the America sailor, and in that time, America council is in the Amoy in mainland China, Hokkien province, and that person, the council who is his name is called Charles W. Legendre, who is a Frenchman, but he know he knew a girl from from America. Later they get married, and so he immigrant to America. And in that time, America is had the civil war, the South fighting with the North, and so the Legendre he joined the army and to fighting with he is from North and fighting with the South, and later he gets hurt, and his eye and the nose get hurt. And so he already performs very well in the soldier. But when he was hurt, the government of America asked him to get retired. He not suitable to be the soldier anymore. So, but he doing very well. So American government designated him as a consulate and to serve in the Amoy in the Hokkien mainland China Hokkien province. And in that time, because before that, China and the France also fighting Chinese China also in that time is the Qin dynasty. In that time, the the Qin was defeated by France and signed a country called the Tianjin Treaty. According to the Tianjin Treaty, they must open the Guangzhou and Amoy in the Guangdong province and the Hokkien province. And they must open Ho Sipo in Taiwan. In that time, Taiwan is ruled by the Qing dynasty. And that is in the Ho Sipo is the north is the Keelung Po, the Sipo, and the Danshui Sipo in Taipei. And the other is in Thailand, called the Anping Sipo, and the other is the Kaohsiung, where I live now, the Kaohsiung Sipo. And so in the Rafa incident, the Legenda, he is the person who take charge of not only the Hokkien province, they also take care of the 是 take charge of the Taiwan too. So when this America Raho incident happened, he must come to go to Taiwan to deal with this incident. So he through someone's introduction, he tried to negotiation with the chief or the leader of the Aboriginal, and they discuss and they had what he had pretended. So later they ask the chief not to kill the person who land on the Taiwan because they had some shipwrecking. They had no any threat to the Aboriginal. So they reach agreement. So the sailor they holding a red flag. That means they had no any bad intention. So you better help them and maybe give him some water and food and help them to come home. And so the chief of the Aboriginal is very friendly to him. And although their language is a barrier, but through someone who helped them to translate it, because there living there is a Taiwanese, and a Taiwanese that time called Han Kan, and that person because he mainly a Aboriginal school, so he can speak Aboriginal dialect too. So this that person help. They talking with the Aboriginal chief, and so that is the lawful incident. So they had a peaceful ending. So he come home to Hokkien province, Amoy, and in the 1870, they had another incident called Bayawan incident. That's only the 3 years later after the Meiji Restoration, because the Meiji Restoration is in the 1868. We have mentioned after the three Bakufu is at the end at 1868. So just 3 years after the Meiji Restoration, and so the Ba Yao Wan incident is the incident that the 60% of the Okinawa's people who also he because Okinawa is already many islands, and a group of people taking a boat and try go to the Naha. Naha is the capital of the Okinawa, and maybe to give the tax to government. And while they back in home to their hometown, and they also met the typhoon and was floated into Taiwan south. And they originally already totally had 66 people. We had we over the time. It's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Yes,
uh,
because we were not able to
uh,
completely use the time up yesterday.
okay. That make
That's
a
fine.
composition. Okay, and the Aboriginal originally treat them well. They give in the water, and the 66 person already 3 of them already died in the sea, and the other landing on the south of Taiwan, and the Aboriginally first they receive them and give them the water and the food and help ask them to stay take the rest in their home, and the Aboriginal they must go hunting in the daytime, so they ask them to wait in their home, and they after they come back they finding all the Okinawa people run away, and they are already their location was known by the Okinawa people, and you they tell the detail of the where they live, and maybe they tell the Japanese, and Japanese sometimes they come to Taiwan and attack them. They are afraid, so they are killed most of them, and while 12 people was saved by a Taiwanese, and they send them to the Kaohsiung city, and that is the Qing Dynasty local government as served there, and the government officer they send the Okinawa people fishermen to Aomori in Hokkien Island because Okinawa in that time they 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 朝贡了，好了，they tribute to mainland China. At the same time, they tribute to the Japanese Kagoshima prefecture, and so tribute to country, and so the Okinawa's people fishermen was killed by the Taiwan's aboriginal. So the Japanese people, especially the Kagoshima people, and they try to discuss this problem with the Qing Dynasty government, and especially during the restoration period, the Meiji restoration, the three hero help to overthrow the country. One is called Saiko Takamori, and he liked to conquer Korea continuously, but the other leader they don't like her, so they get set down and to go to their hometown Kagoshima and to build school and teach students, and later they teach students how to fighting with the new government, and Hun Sen was defeated and he committed suicide. But his brother also like to conquer Taiwan, and he used this as an excuse to attack Taiwan. So eventually he go to this negotiation with the Qing Dynasty government, and Qing Dynasty government say the Aboriginal is the people who build their own kingdom. They don't obey the law of the Qing Dynasty. So we had anything to do with this incident. And Saigo Takamori's brother say, you don't deal with it. I like to attack myself. And the Qing Dynasty government, so okay, please do it as you like. So he come back to Japan, and so he like to tell this to convince the central government to attack Taiwan. But unfortunately, where they come back to Tokyo, and they discuss with high-ranking officer. The high-ranking officer say, oh, there are a similar incident, this is called the Bayawan incident, and before that the incident called the lawful incident, and say the two incidents very similar. All the two people. This incident, the people was killed by the aboriginal. So the person who deal with the lawful incident is called Legenda. Legenda. He now he's in Japan because he tell the American government. He said he dealing with the lawful incident, and he make not effort to do it. Where the another ambassador, the ambassador he is very negative. He is don't like to do anything. So he tell the American government, and American government say, well, you do it well, you promise well, but you had a bad relationship with the ambassador, so you are no longer suitable doing the consulate job in the Hawaii. So we like to designate you as ambassador to the Argentina. So he like to go back to America to get the new job, and where he must transfer in Japan. taking the ship. And while he stayed in the Japan, the Takamori's brother discussed this with the local officer. The local officer said, "Oh, one person deal with this incident very similar. So now he is in the Japan. So I introduce him to you." And Takamori's brother is really happy. Also, okay, thank you. And so he introduced the legend to Takamori's brother, and they talk it. They even give the map of the Taiwan, and they tell him how to attack the Aboriginal in Taiwan. And so, but he must to do something else. They must back to Amoy. So while they back into Amoy, he tried to do something, and he was arrested by the ambassador. Ambassador say, "You cannot." Uh, cannot add to any application and leave your position, leave your job. So you must be arrested. So unfortunately, he was arrested. So he originally in Japan, and in Japan he like to go back to America and later to Argentina to get the new position as an ambassador. And the Japanese government convinced him to stay in Japan, and they will ask the Japanese government to give you a good position. So later they ask him to stay in Taiwan, and they hire him as a government's advisor, a consultant, and they agree, and they back to Amoy to doing something, but was arrested. So he cannot teach the Saiko Takamori's brother how to take to attack the to attack Taiwan's aboriginal. But the Sakamori originally asked the central government, then the government disagree, so they had no choice. So they asked America and England government to help him by lending him the ship, and originally the England government and the American government agreed to help him, but later the Qing dynasty government asked American government and the English government not to lend lend the ship to him, and so later the America and the English government changed the idea, so they cannot borrow the ship from America and the and the from England, and so later he asked the Mitsubishi, and because Mitsubishi he's the he built the ship, he built the very big group of parts in the play. He even from the Meiji Restoration time. So he asked him to ask the he called his the leader, the CEO called Yataro, and so Yataro is the expert, is the expert, the people build the company, and he agreed to help the Sakamani's brother and to offer them a ship, and they using the ship to attack Taiwan with 5,900 soldiers with the ship go to Taiwan to attack to the aboriginal, and that place is called the Bodan. So that incident called the Bodan incident. And the Bodan incident, the Japanese had a modern weapon. They had the rifle, while the aboriginal only carried the knife only. But Japanese try to attack the aboriginal, not successful because uh, only white people survive, and but most of people die not due to the fighting. They are due to biting by the mosquito, and they cause the malaria, and then malaria cause many Japanese soldiers die, and so they cannot say successful. They retreat to Japan. And in that time, the China's government already sent a very high-ranking officer to Taiwan to rule Taiwan, and that person is called Chen Baozhen. And Chen Baozhen, finding the Japanese ambition, he find any excuse to attack Taiwan. They like to occupy Taiwan as their colony. They already know Japanese ambition, so they ask Chinese government to give them more budget and give to let more people from mainland China to emigrate to Taiwan. And because in Qing Dynasty, they don't like the people to emigrate to Taiwan. So before Taiwan is ruled by the Zheng Chengguang, Zheng Chengguang ruled Taiwan, and his father and his son and his grandson only ruled Taiwan for only 21 years. And in that time, many people come to Taiwan with Zheng Chengguang. But after the grandson was of the Zheng Chengguang, Teisego, who was defeated by the Qing dynasty, they surrendered to Qing dynasty, and so from that time, Qing dynasty. Taiwan was ruled by Qing dynasty, and Qing dynasty maybe Qing dynasty government or who Taiwan became strong and strong. Maybe someday they are rebel mainland China or against mainland China. They still post slate. So they don't like the young people carry their family to Taiwan. They only allow the single person to Taiwan, and so the Taiwan usually the single person come to Taiwan, they finding Taiwan's Aboriginal girl to get married, and so 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 陈宝珍今天 the government should change the policy. They must let more people to emigrate to Taiwan and to give more budget to Taiwan to build the Taiwan's defense. Otherwise, someday the Japanese will occupy Taiwan. So Qing Dynasty government agree. So they give him the budget money and more people to Taiwan. And during that time, the east part of the Taiwan, that part is only three provinces, three county. The north is the Yilan, and the middle is Hualien, and the south is Taitung, and they are very little population, so they like more people to move to east part because they are already and the Japanese come from east part, and they have no enough people to resist it or no ability to resist it, so they like to build the Suhua Highway, and because in the north from Iran to Hualien they had no land at all. They only had the mountain and the ocean. And so in before that time, the transportation only through the sea by ship. They had no car, no bus running on the land because they are very mountain area. So they like to build the highway. And in that time, the government really really give money to the Chengbaozhen and to build the highway, but only a small, very narrow highway. They cannot only for people to walking only, cannot drive the car. And in the 1895, the Qing dynasty government also had a fighting with Japanese, that called the Sino-Japanese War, and because they are fighting for the Korea. Korea had a political problem, and they had divided two groups. One group asked mainland China to help, while another group asked Japanese to help. So in the fighting field is in Korea, but the soldiers come from mainland China and Japan. So Taiwan and the mainland China's Qing dynasty force was defeated by Japan, and so they signed in a contract called the Shimoseki contract treaty, and that according to that treaty, Qing dynasty government must give Taiwan and Pagoda to Japan. And from that time, Japanese send their officer and soldier come to Taiwan. And that time, Taiwan's people don't like to be ruled by Japan. They are also fighting, but very soon they are defeated because the Japanese the weapon is more advanced in the 1895. Maybe I can only talk about this and I think that's okay. Although we have some to discuss, but I think the time is is too much. Okay,
That's okay. So I'll
okay,
just give you a quick feedback on
okay.
how
Thank you.
you did.
Okay.
So
Mm,
for accuracy,
okay.
instead of saying
Mm,
in the 1842,
mm,
you don't have to use any articles with years.
mm,
So just say in 1842.
mm,
So I'll send you a link
mm,
for more information on this zero article usage with years in English.
mm,
And also, instead of saying mainland China was defeated by England, it should be was defeated
that's okay.
by England.
Mm,
Next, one of the captain.
mm,
So after one of, what always follows is the plural form of the noun. The
mm,
logic behind it is that
mm,
it's just, for example, in your sentence, it's
mm.
just one captain out of
Okay.
many captains.
Mm,
That's why one of is
mm,
always followed by the plural form of the noun. And I'm sending you also a link
mm,
for more information on the correct usage of one of with nouns in English.
mm,
And lastly, instead of saying Okinawa people, I
mm,
checked the dictionary,
mm.
they're called Okinawans. So
Okinawas.
Okinawan is
Okinawan.
a native or inhabitant
Mm,
of Okinawa. So we
Okinawa.
call them Okinawans.
Okinawan. Okay.
But you did a great job. Your
Thank you.
presentation was very detailed.
Thank you.
So keep that up. Yes, you're welcome. And thank you very much.
Okay.
Also, I'm sorry for yesterday.
It's
So
okay.
have,
Mm.
thank you very much. Have a
You're
good
welcome.
night.
Okay.
Stay
See you next
safe.
time. Oh, bye bye.
Yes, see you next time. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
I love you, baby.
Okay.